we're going to talk next about some high-tech findings and some forgeries from some ancient documents. So we're going to talk about this really cool guy named Mike Langlois. I'm sure I said that wrong, Mike, and I'm terribly sorry about that. But this guy, okay, so it's worth pointing out, this guy has like, I don't know, what was it, like 7 degrees, you guys, and all kinds of different stuff. I mean, this man has been studying the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, I'm sure a lot of our audience is familiar, but for those that aren't familiar, I'll give just a quick little rundown, which is a while ago, there was this cave and it had all these like really old documents in it that had to do with like the Bible and stuff. And we didn't know about those for a really, really long time. And then we found them and then we've been searching through them. And there's been a lot of really interesting information in there. Obviously, there is a probably more technical way to say all that, but that gets us up to speed for the most part. But one of the really, really cool things that he is doing is he is using some high tech stuff to kind of scan over these documents. And that has given us a lot of really, really cool information. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but before I pass it off to Richard, I just want to point out that when I started reading this, I thought it was really cool because very early on, I noticed that one of the things that Michael had published on also one of those publishers is a man by the name of Dr. Kip Davis, aka Dr. Kill. And if you don't know who this guy is, he is a Dead Sea Scrolls scholar. He's been hanging out, with all kinds of incredible people, just debunking all kinds of things. And I just thought that was really cool because I've seen a lot of his stuff and I enjoyed the crap out of it. And anyway, I will stop talking so that we can have some more technical discussion on this from our resident professor, Dr. Richard. What do you got for us?
Well, I was going to say that an active and still professional musician, a PhD in obscure history, he researches corpus linguistics and programming and language analysis, good-looking, talented, sharp-dressed. Enough about me. This guy's pretty cool. I really like him. I suspect we get on quite well should we meet up. The technology that's coming into the field of things like textual analysis. I was back in the day, I was doing very, very, very simple corpus linguistics where I put a Python 3 program together that was kind of shoddy, and it will pick out certain words from certain texts from about 23,000 books, which was great because once upon a time you do a history degree by sitting in a cellar for 3 years reading things very slowly. But that amazed me at the time that I could do that. But this isn't a whole other level. This is the satellites that are mapping Egypt and the Amazon and finding cities level of stuff. And it's important, I think, to know which historical documents are real, which ones aren't, because there are lots and lots of arguments out there amongst historians and archaeologists. This is real and that isn't. And it's usually based on stuff that is more subjective than they would admit, like certain forms of paleography. Oh, that little curly R means it's from the 1st century. And you're like, yeah, but does it though? And someone else will come along and say, no, it's from the 2nd century. Whereas this, what he's doing, the kind of analysis is, no, that curly R is definitely from the 1st century. I can prove it. Look at the readout on my system. And I just find that brilliant. It's going to make my life easier because I don't have to, whenever I'm doing anything old, I don't have to look at a text and go, okay, who actually wrote this? And it's going to make other people's easier in the field. And it's so important to studying religious texts because so often you get the latest, this is the real Bible. Well, is it? Again, you need to go and see this guy's work and see if you're looking at the right things. It's groundbreaking stuff. And I think not just religious texts, but all texts need this kind of tech, and it's only going to get better. But you also need someone like him who is fluent in all these areas to pull it together. And it's another area that I'm interested in, which is sort of not just focusing on one subject, because I'm a bit of an eclectic. I can't focus on one thing at a time. I can't focus on, I'm just far too fidgety. And I think he sounds like he's the same. He's like, yeah, I've done that. I need to bring this into it. And I've done that. I need to bring this into it. So let's study it. And without that, I don't think you can have this kind of innovation. You need people, weirdos like us, who are multidisciplinary. And so what subject do you do? And like him, like me, will go, you need to sit down. And it's great. I think he's fantastic. And I think his results are fantastic. And I think it's bodes so well for this kind of research. As you can tell, I'm a little excited about this kind of thing. It's just kind of in my wheelhouse, just a bit.
It is pretty cool stuff, I'll say.
Yeah, it is.
Helen, what did you think about this all around awesome guy?
I have feelings because as a woman that is married to an intelligent, well-read basis, part of my brain was like, this is making Helen a little sorry. I mean, smart.
It's not Thursday.
Smart, happy and smart. I love happy and smart men. Sorry. But this is the type of shit I love, where someone starts on, because he was a person of faith. He's a person of faith, and he just started following the evidence, and he and he, like many of us that were that have been a person of faith, had taken the Dead Sea Scrolls were gospel, that they were legitimate. And then by using all the available scientific technologies, bam, so many forgeries. And this is helping people that have certain documents in their private collections, and they're finding out that they were frauded. They're re-examining the pieces that are in museums to go, is this actually authentic? And I just find this so fascinating, the way that modern technology and these scientific discoveries are reconstructing not only how we look at nature, but how our faiths and mythologies have developed over time, and giving this reconstruction of how things are, which I think is really fascinating. Because thing is, though, it's kind of my feeling on it. The people that lived in those ancient times and followed certain myths and part of their culture and their religion, it shaped them who they were for that culture. And if someone comes around and wants to rewrite their history, and we're looking back on a modern time to where we got now, we have to adjust with that new information. And I can't help but think that there's going to be some people, just like with the Shroud of Turin, when that was proved to be a fake, that they're going to bury their heads in the sand, and they're going to put their fingers in their ears and be like, nah, 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 I don't hear you. I want to believe what I want to believe. Nah, 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 nah. And that's the thing we're going to see again, even as this comes out, where he's saying, like, I'm not saying that some of the text are forgeries. There is some legitimate history here, but we have to separate it off from what is authentic versus what people kind of threw in over time. Especially if you're a believer, because as a believer, wouldn't you want to know the exact truth of your faith? Just saying.
Yep. And I think that brings me to one of the quotes that I really loved from him. It says, but with forgeries, if you don't pay attention and you think they are authentic, then they become part of the data set you use to reconstruct the history of the Bible. The entire theory is then based on data that is false. And I love that, because I think that's so powerful. Again, like you pointed out, Helen, this is a man who is a believer. This is a guy that does have faith. He's not an atheist. He's not, an anti-theist. None of that. This is somebody that truly believes and is wanting the most accurate information, because, like we always say around here, the more true information you have, the better you can understand things and the better decisions you can make and stuff. And like both of you pointed out, I think this is just amazing, because even as somebody who is not religious, it is so fascinating to understand the nuances of these cultures better,
Mm.
right? And just because I thought this was funny, I thought there was a list at one point. And by the way, folks, this article is amazing. I mean, it comes
Yes.
from
For
the
sure.
Smithsonian Magazine. It is super duper in depth, and every single time we have an episode of Nonprofits, we always encourage you to read stuff. I want to double triple down on this article because you
Yeah.
will learn quite a lot. But at one point, there's one section where it talks about a handful of the different places that had to admit that they had forgeries. Okay, so we've got Azusa Pacific University in Southern California. We've got Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. We've got the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. had to announce that its entire collection was forgeries. That's amazing. And we only really have that information because of this scholarship, right? I mean, it is so freaking cool to me that we were able to discover so much. And honestly, I'm excited. I want more information to come out on this. You know, I don't know what next cool discoveries will be made, but I am going to say there are probably going to be a heck of a lot still to come. Richard, your thoughts?
I think, yeah. And what I also like is when you find a forgery like this, sometimes there'll be a fairly modern forgery, but sometimes they won't be. There'll be an addition or a change or a forgery that was done 500, 1,000, 1,500 years ago. And that's a whole new area of study. Who forged it? Why did they forge it? Where did they come from? How did that map onto their culture later on? Are they doing it to map it onto their culture? What's going on there? There's whole PhDs to be written in just that before you get to the new reading of the texts themselves. And so that's why I love this kind of thing. I love extra textual analysis is a wonderful thing. I remember once back in my university days, I remember going to Trinity College and finding a book and opening it, and there was a page folded over. It was a very, very old book. And I know that the person who folded that page was a young lad called Isaac Newton. And I remember going, oh, and suddenly the guy who read the book was as important as the book. So that kind of stuff, it really fascinates me. This history of this guy who used to go and fold all the pages over so he could find certain words in them, and it being Isaac. It's great. It's a great way to go, and having something more concrete. And yes, he's a person of faith, but here's a weird thing. Not everybody who's religious is a bibliolater. Not everyone who's religious absolutely, doesn't want to know the truth. It could be argued, and this is a longer conversation, but it could be argued that the reason we have empiricism is because a bunch of religious people went, that America continent, well, Aristotle and the Bible didn't mean it, which means we've got a problem with our brains. So we need to work out a way of seeing the truth of God in nature without using our brains and without reading that book. So how do we do it? Well, we'll test things and see if it matches a prediction. And that's kind of your Francis Bacon and people did that. There are them out there. It's amazing. There's a world of religious, rational people. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but there are. And he's a great example of that. Yeah, he's a person of faith, but he wants to know what the truth of these things is. He wants to get to the bottom of it. And yes, there's one little area that he's kind of compartmentalizing. But I don't mind that as long as he's true to the science and he doesn't try and convince me or anything or force his beliefs on everybody else. So it's great. It's great. As a person whose background is for primarily history, yeah, as you can see, I don't care at all. Not bothered.
Yeah.
Really, really.
I just love what you said, though, about, like, the Isaac Newton thing, like, knowing he had there's something very, like, I'm using this term, but I mean it like magical, but I don't mean magical, but there's just something about that idea that, like, generations before us had these really incredible ideas, and that brought us into modern society. Like, it gives me chills. Like, that's like my jams because I think as secularists and atheists, because we know life is finite, we somehow get a little cynical.
Yeah.
And I think to take a moment as us as human beings to kind of take a step back and go, you know what? We got here because of people before us that had good ideas and they wanted to push humans forward and
Yeah.
society forward and culture forward. And let what like okay, I'm gonna call him Legolas because that's what I keep saying in my head. Fuck Tolkien. Okay, it's just embedded in there. But he is one of these people as a scholar and someone that was going to follow the evidence. That's what he did. And I think that's really cool. Like I just even like we can have a discussion about faith, but like if I could be in his lab and watch him do his work, like I would have like a big brain orgasm. Like I would be like really impressed. So
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
the type of stuff that I love.
Yeah, honestly, there's just so many cool things. Like seriously,
Yeah.
like a third of this whole article, I think, is just talking about how cool of a dude he is, which is
Right?
like true. It's like true. It's like every single time I read the next thing, I'm like, damn, Mike, like chill, like save something for the rest of us, you know? Like calm down, man.
Yeah.
But
I want to seek him out and jam with him.
yeah, right, right.
Right?
Just like have a 10-minute jam session, and then just be like,
Yeah.
so what do you think about the Mesha Stele? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Where'd you go with the yeah, but yeah, I mean, honestly, this is some incredible stuff to me. And this is where I love to direct my attention.
Mm.
I don't care so much for what the internet, the apologists, the shit they say, just kind of teasing where we're going next from here. But these are the type of people that I love listening to, right? Somebody like Dale C. Allison, just a true scholar, a believer, yes, but somebody that does the work and looks at it critically and is willing to provide their sources, give you the evidence so that you can see it too, and isn't just coming up with these wild, fanciful conclusions and so forth just because they want to. Like Richard said, yeah, you're going to notice that there seems to be kind of a piece of it where they just kind of compartmentalize the stuff, and that's fine. I don't think that destroys the scholarship in any way, shape, or form, because of the fact that we are going about this in a rigorous method. And we do have that data to back it up, right? We can make the predictions. We can find those freaking things when we go looking for them. That's huge. And just the more that we do on that, the more we are going to understand this. And I really do believe that as we present more and more of this information to the average believer, I think they're going to start shifting a little in their worldviews. I think this stuff really takes hold for a lot of people.
Mm.
I can't tell you how many friends of mine, right, that are atheist or agnostic now, and they would say to me things like, yeah, it's because I thought all of this history stuff was true that I was such a big believer. And then as I started looking into it and I found
Mm.
out, hey, some of this doesn't really match up with a historical timeline. That really was the first crack. I love it, honestly. And again, even if it doesn't cause a mass amount of people to step away from their faith, I just love the fact that we do have, critical scholarship on something that for so long we really didn't have, especially not at this level. So again, just hardcore want to suggest to everybody out there, read this.
Yeah, like
It's amazing.
it is so fascinating.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's so good.
Yeah, truly. It's and again, it's like really, it's kind of just worth it just to hear about Michael, like just hear all the cool stuff that he does. Like not even the tech stuff with the Dead Sea Scrolls. But
And
anyway,
apparently he's a snappy dresser. So,
yeah, I mean,
that's exciting.
he probably beats me for the best hair award. I don't
He
feel
does
like
have good hair.
I
He
know,
has,
and yeah, it's like I feel bad about having to get it up, but game gotta
Well,
recognize
I mean, you
game.
and J Mike are just competing for best hair
That's
at
true.
this point. So,
That's true. Yeah, yeah. But I think we're both losing in the PhD category tonight. But that's all right. We'll get there one of these days. But any other thoughts, y'all, before we go on and round out this with a little bit of our old friend Greg Locke, Helen or Richard?
The only thought to me is there's actually in some ways a positive thing having someone of faith doing this kind of research, because there's one criticism that can be taken away from the theist, which is, you're just an atheist. You would say that. They
Mhm.
can't say that to him.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Mm.
Helen,
I
anything else?
Yeah, and like I'm just going to reiterate what I said before. Like, I love the fact that he just followed the evidence. You
Yeah.
know, he was, and he was a person of faith, and he wanted to know, because of that, more about his faith, and he didn't stop looking, and I think that's wonderful. I'm like, oh, humanity, yay, good feeling. So I just think it's fantastic, because this article was a trip and a wonderful thing to read. So, and that gives me hope from humanity. Like,
Yes.
people like him, like, he's a person of faith, but he's doing the God's work.
That's right. That is right. Yeah. Yeah. And again, seriously, y'all, read this
Yeah.
article. Take the time. It is super worth it. But you know, unfortunately, as happens, we have to eventually say goodbye, and we're getting close to that time. But before we do, let me tell all of you wonderful people out there another great way you can support us here on the Nonprofits. You can become a member of the channel for as little as 99 cents a month. All you got to do is click the join button below the video, and this will give you access to special chat emojis. I have been told that if we get more members, we can get more emojis. So if you're out there right now and you're watching us live and you are a member, just go ahead and just throw all those emojis in chat and make everybody else jealous. And again, if you do feel that jealousy, it's fine. We understand. But just join, and then you won't be jealous anymore.